Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Fear Alchemist. Today, we're going to talk about building a six-figure coaching business. And this is a topic that honestly has probably been bludgeoned to death in the whole coaching, personal development, building your business space. But I wanted to talk about it in the sense that I haven't seen it. I'm sure other people are probably talking about it in a similar way, but I wanted to talk about it in the way of my own journey and what I've experienced and what I've learned along the way, because I know a good amount of you are coaches or healers or just people with their own businesses, and you're trying to do good work in the world. Like you want to make a living by being yourself and by helping people. And I believe that that's how the world is supposed to work and how it's starting to work and how it will work in the future is that everyone just gets paid to be themselves by sharing their gift, because everybody is a unique person with a unique gift. You know, I've worked with people who like literally their gift is like gardening and teaching people how to garden and build gardens, like, and they're building a business all on that. Of course, there's people who are more of the body healers. There's people who are the mindset healers. There's people who are great speakers. There's people who are great with money. There's so many different types of categories that you can go into, but really there's, something unique to you. And so I want to share my unique journey and story. And I'm not sure if you've heard about my story, but if not, I'll give you a quick and dirty version of it now. So I spent my corporate days in the finance industry. And so for about 8.5 years, um, I was very fortunate, and I started with a company when I was 19 years old, and this company had about 50 people. And you fast forward like, I guess, yeah, 8, 9 years later, and this company went from 50 people to like 1,500 people. And it went from 100 million in revenue, which is a lot in its own. It went from 100 million in revenue to over a billion. So, 10x in revenue in that amount of time. And so I got to experience a lot of leadership opportunities, just because I was a semi-responsible adult. And, we were growing so quickly that we just needed people who could step up. And I was fortunately one of the people who was willing to step up. And so I got so many opportunities, and I just got to learn on the spot. And I learned the hard way. But for me, it's the preferred way of learning how to coach people, learning how to lead people, learning how to guide people, relate to people, just work in the trenches, like working long hours. And this experience, um, you know, took me on a great journey. And then eventually, when I decided to quit my job in 2018, it was because I had gone through the ranks of supervisor, manager, director, and I had all these leadership roles in different capacities. And I finally got this opportunity. It almost doubled my salary. I got recruited to move, away from home to the East Coast. And I was so excited. And I was also terrified. But I was so excited because I was like, yes, this is the thing that I've been waiting for. Like, this is my big break. Like, I've been putting in my work, putting in the hours. I've been grinding at this company, and finally I have an opportunity to go make it big. And I move across the country. It's this, I'm so excited, liberated, and there's so much adrenaline pumping through my veins. And then I get there, and that quickly wears off. And I realize that, whoa, like, no matter what the role is, no matter what the pay is, no matter how important I may seem, or the stock options, or whatever um, benefit or perk a company throws at me, it's never going to be enough, because this isn't who I am anymore. And it took me a long time to realize that, because I was fighting it, and I was scared, honestly. Now that looking back at it, I know that I was scared to let that go. Like once I, moved, this was the beginning of 2019. My life started to fall apart, and I call this the divine demolition, where God and, spirit source, the universe just says, okay, you said yes to the leap. And this is where everything changes. And it seems like destruction, absolute demolition. And it is. It's everything that you've built is being taken away, being stripped away, that no longer serves you, that isn't who you are anymore. And really, it wasn't really you in the first place. And it can be painful, just to put it bluntly. But if you want to live your full life, like to the fullest potential, and to squeeze every drop out of it, and to be who you're meant to be, and to have, complete freedom, you got to go through that. There's no other way but through it. And it happened very quickly for me. 2019 was absolutely, it was necessary, but it was painful. That was definitely a painful year for me. And, but through that pain, through this job that I thought was going to be the thing that I loved, and that, would make me so important and make all this money, and, solve all my problems, I started to feel like a magnet. Like when you try and put two magnets together, and no magnets of the same charge, and no matter how hard you try and push them together, they just don't go together, right? They just, no matter how hard you try, they can't touch. And that was like me in the corporate world. No matter how hard I tried, I just couldn't do it. I tried to force myself to show up, but it was almost like impossible for me. And I was repelled by this job. I was showing up late. I was taking long lunches. I was leaving early. I was doing everything I could possibly do to like not be there, even though I was trying to be there to do a good job, because that's what I was known for my whole career, was going the extra mile. And then all of a sudden I couldn't do it anymore. It was just like, it was just something. Yeah, the only way I can explain it is like I was repelled. And so finally, I got the courage to leave this job. And, earlier in 2019, I made a big investment into crypto, and this investment started paying me, around, we can just call it like $5,000 a month if I wanted it to, if I wanted to cash it out. And so once I had this passive income, I was like, oh, cool. Like this thing is paying me. Now I'm able to quit my job. Like, it's what gave me the confidence, even though I was just scared shitless. Like, I'm honest with you. Like, it was like you're standing on the edge of the cliff. You're looking down this sheer face of a cliff, and you see nothing. There's nothing down there. You don't even see water to land into. It's just endless abyss, darkness. Even though I had this money, it was still terrifying. And I was like, well, there's not going to be a better time than right now. I have money. I'm single. There's no family. Like, I have an idea. And keep in mind, my business wasn't making any money at this time. I wasn't even knowing that I was going to be a coach at this time. But I had this, network marketing idea slash podcast idea. This is when I started my first podcast. And I was like, I feel good about it. I feel like it's going to lead me somewhere. And what made me take the leap wasn't necessarily the money, but it was someone asked me the question, someone that I looked up to, a mentor at the time. They said, Ben, what would you do if you knew it was impossible to fail? And as soon as they asked me that question, it was just this deep knowing in my body that I was like, well, duh, I would quit. If it was impossible to fail, of course I would leave. And that revealed my truth. And this is one of my favorite questions that I've asked people and clients ever since, because this question is such a revealer of the truth. What would you do if you knew that you couldn't fail? If there was no possible failure, of course, you would do the thing that you want to do. Um, and of course, people, there's the doubts and limiting beliefs and hesitation and everything that your mind can fill in the blank. Well, what if this happens? Which is just really fear, right? And another way I like to ask the question as well, if fear didn't exist, what would you do? Like if fear wasn't holding you back, what action would you take? Who would you be? How would you feel? Because this gives us the truth of what we would be doing, and who we would be, and really who we already are underneath all the masks and the pretending and the conditioning and the programming that we've built layers up during our years and decades of life. Um, so I took the leap of faith, and there I was, September, I think September 2019. And then in October or November, I find out that that money I invested into crypto, which was $40,000 in USD, I found out that I lost it. And that's an oh shit moment. I was like, okay, I just quit my job. And then, I quit knowing that's like I have something to fall back on. And I find out I lost this money. And I was just like, what? Like, what am I going to do? But fortunately, I had some money already saved up from that. So I'm like, okay, I have some leeway where I can get things back on track. And then fast forward another few months, I still hadn't really made any money in this business idea that I was doing. And so still, not making money in my business. Now I'm $40,000 in debt and there's no money coming in. I don't have that 9 to 5 job. And I was faced with this decision of like, do I go back and get a job again? Do I go back to what I just came from? And I remember telling a friend who was in this exact same circumstance, um, with the crypto. They were also in this crypto investment. And I told them, I can remember this very exact moment where I was. Um, I said, I know I lost $40,000 so I could learn how to make $40,000. And that's what happened is like the losing that money was what actually propelled me and guided me into becoming a coach. Um, because I needed to figure out another revenue source and everything I was doing wasn't working. And that's what led me to really my truth and into alignment because I was in meditation and I got this idea for the fear guy and it just hit me like a lightning bolt. And I was like, whoa, that sounds really cool. And I had been toying with this idea of fear for a long time, you know, even back when I was 19, that this is a whole different story, but when I was 19, I started doing everything I was afraid of. Like I made a commitment. If I felt fear, then that meant I needed to do that thing. So I had been building, a decade's worth of experience and even looking at me as a human, like in my unique design. I know that's just a natural gift of mine, but then also building this muscle had given me tools and experience that most people don't have, and it was doing the scary thing became pretty much easy for me. And I realized like, whoa, this is my thing. This is the thing that I can offer people that, people are terrified. And keep in mind, this is now the March of 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. So everyone is terrified. And then I rebranded my business. And, within those 2 weeks or so, I signed, 4 clients. So right away when I signed 4 clients, or right away when I rebranded, it resonated with people. And I signed 4 clients. And keep in mind, it was, crickets for months. And all of a sudden, something just clicked. And it was just, blast off from there. But why I tell you this is because some of you might be going through this divine demolition of, everything isn't working or why isn't working? How long do I have to go through this? When is it my time? Do I just keep going? And yes, there's part of that you just have to keep going. But part of it is, you know, there's something you're probably not listening to. Um, Maybe you're doing something that you feel like people tell you that you should be doing, or you feel like you should be doing, or is the right thing or the strategic thing, but it's not actually the thing on your heart that you want to be doing. So I'd encourage you to tap into your heart and really get aligned. Um, and another reason I'm telling you this is because, like, when you take those huge leaps of faith, for whatever reason, I think, like, whenever you do something, you exercise that bravery and that courage, you're going to be met with the same level of fear. It's like, it's just like a law of the universe, right? Like if you drop a rock in a pond, there's going to be a reaction, right? There's ripples and there's a wave. And that's going to be like, whoa, this amazing liberating experience because the universe rewards courage. But there's also going to be a new level of fear that you've never met before. For me, I was like, oh my God, I just lost $40,000 and I don't know how to make money. And I just quit my 9 to 5 job. But then I was rewarded because I stuck it through and I listened to my heart and I kept trusting and I kept moving and I was rewarded for that. And so you might be in the same space where it's like, I don't know, you know, how this is going to happen, but I know deep down you know that you have a calling inside of you that knows like it might sound delusional, you might be thinking you're crazy or something, but if my story is any, help for you, please know that that crazy has a purpose and that you're really not crazy. And if you're not crazy, you're probably not dreaming big enough. And there is something in your heart, and your heart and soul isn't wrong. Like it's guiding you somewhere. And I'd encourage you to listen to that. And I wanted to begin this podcast with that story because you can already see within that less than a year time frame that was pretty wild of a journey. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I can definitely like turn this into a multiple six-figure income business. Like I sent 4 clients in the first week or two. Like, of course I can keep this going, but that's not what happened. Uh, there's so many stories I could tell you, but it didn't take me 1 year to, build a six-figure business. It didn't take me 2 years. It didn't even take me 3 years. It took me 4 whole years to start making more than my six-figure job that I left. And it can definitely happen fast, of course, like the whole quantum leap thing or whatever, or the what manifesting whatever have you, right? But like, of course, that stuff can happen. But even if that stuff does happen, there's gonna be ups and downs and roller coasters and doubt and losing money and taking risks and things going really well. And then you self-sabotage yourself and then you question everything. Like, this is just a journey. Like, this is a huge freaking journey that you're saying yes to. This isn't just about a business. This is about your spiritual evolution as a human on this earth. Like, entrepreneurship, along with parenthood and partnership, I believe is just the ultimate growth journey because it's constantly reflecting back to you, like your business is. It's because it's no longer you're working for someone. It's you're not pouring your energy into someone else's dream or idea. It's you. And especially in this world, right? As coaches or healers or people who are sharing our heart, um, to really, share our gifts to impact the world. It's a vulnerable. It's like, and we're not even just like building an Amazon business, selling clothes. I mean, if that's what you love, cool. But we're sharing something deeper. We're not just trying to make money, is we're doing something that's who we are. And that's really vulnerable. And it hurts a lot of the times. It stings a lot of the time. Um, and I just want to tell you, like, if it's taking longer than you thought, that's okay. You probably see all these people like, here's how you do this on Instagram. Here's how you build a business. Here's what you're doing. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you not don't need to do. Here are all the mistakes you're making. Honestly, that stuff makes me want to puke. Like, and sometimes I've worried if I'm adding to that noise, but it's just like, yo, like turn that noise off. Like, seriously, anything that's just like experts telling you what to do, like you have your own guidance system inside of you that you just need to listen to. Um, and I recently unfollowed people towards the end of last year in 2023 because I noticed like the quote unquote experts and even my friends and peers that I followed were like distracting me from my own knowing and my own alignment. And so really tapping into my inner knowing, and I'd encourage you to do the same. And also what I would say regarding this whole thing is um like I've used my savings, I've used crypto, I've cashed out my 401k. I've used other things to help supplement, as I've built this business. So it's not just like, woo, I quit day one and all these amazing things happen. Like for sure that can happen for some people. But I imagine for a lot of us, this is a journey and a constant ebb and flow and learning and adjusting and pivoting and a constant refinement. And I've been thinking about what advice would I give myself back in 2019 or 2020 when I started this journey. Um, like really, like I actually thought about it for me, like because I want to take that advice right now. Um, because I've made another breakthrough in my business and it's really cool. And now I want to take those lessons from the past few years and integrate it and also ask myself, what would I do? Because I feel like it's still relevant to me now. And I like to offer you these same lessons. So, number one is build trust and build community. I felt like back when I started, because I lost that money and I didn't have a job, I was focused so much on getting clients right now. It was like this forceful energy, and I was doing all that I can just to earn money, just to earn money, um, which is, part of what we're trained to do in business. But that was coming from fear and it was coming from scarcity. So what I would encourage you to do, encourage myself to do is like, of course, make money. There's nothing wrong with that. Like, I love money, but focus on the long term. Focus on building relationships, building community, providing value for the long term. Like, be in it with people. Don't be so transactional. Like, provide a true heart-based service. And number two, what I would do is I would tell myself it's not what you do, it's who you are. And I'm telling you the same thing right now because I kept asking myself, like, what do I need to do to be successful? Like, what am I missing? Like, what are all these people who seem to have it all figured out and I don't? Like, what are they doing that I'm not? And I was asking the wrong question because it's not a strategy, it's not a marketing tactic. That's probably 20% of it, but 80% or more of it is about who you are because who you are, who you be, that influences your actions, right? That influences how you show up. That influences whether you are in alignment or not with what you're doing, like executing those strategies. So the strategy is essentially pointless if who you are is off kilter, if it's imbalanced, if it's out of alignment, if it's fake, if it's false, if it's inauthentic. So you can know what to do, and that doesn't even mean you'll do it either. Like I've worked with so many people who like they know all the things. They have coaching certifications. They've worked with a business coach before. It seems like they've listened to all the podcasts, read all the books, worked with coaches, but they're still not in the place that they want to be because they're out of alignment. Like they're still afraid. You can have the best branding. You can be an amazing coach yourself. Like you can be an amazing coach. You can get great results. You can get results with your clients. You can know the steps to marketing yourself, but you can still be stuck if you're operating in a fearful state. Like if you're afraid of rejection, if you're afraid of failure, if you're afraid of judgment, if you're afraid of being successful, being seen, of the unknown, there's so many different fears that are in there. Like all that stuff doesn't matter if you're still fearful, if you're still worried about something bad happening. It just doesn't matter. And this is why who you are matters more than anything. And this is exactly what we're going to be doing in Fear Alchemy for coaches and healers. This is a 7-week group coaching program. And if you really want to discover who you are, not so much what to do, because once you know who you are, you'll know exactly what to do. I don't feel like I need to say any more on that because it's who you are that matters. It's who you are because who you are is the only thing that you need to do. Be 100% authentically, powerfully, confidently you. You show up as that. That's the best strategy and marketing tactic you could possibly have. So if you're interested in working through your fears and those deep places that you know you've been avoiding, you've keep taking these freaking trainings or whatever you want to call them, thinking that like I'm finally gonna get it, I'm finally gonna get it, but you know you're just procrastinating. You know you're avoiding the fearful and painful parts of yourself. This is for you because once you befriend your fear, once you go into these places that you've been avoiding and hiding from, you'll find that these are the keys that will allow you to fully step into your purpose. So if you know there's something inside of you that feels reluctant, resistant, afraid, nervous, doubtful, this is for you. This isn't, showing you how to build an email funnel or anything like that. Like you can Google that, but what you can't Google is how to walk through the fear, how to friend that fear. And you already have the answers inside of you. My job is to guide you with the space, with the energy, with the community, with the tools and the questions, so you reveal and remember who you already are. So if you want that, if you feel like you've been going through all the freaking things but nothing is working, there's a high likelihood that this is for you, because I'm guessing that you haven't directly worked with your fear before. So if you're interested in that, then go check out the link in the description and you can find out more. Registration closes on February 15th, which is a week from this episode release date. So come join us if you feel called. We'd love to have you. All right. And then point number 3, it kind of, this is relates to what we just talked about in point number 2, is stop looking outside of yourself for answers. What I was doing, um, due to an insecurity and fear of not thinking I'm good enough on my own, I was hoping that collaborations would bring me success. Like getting on a big podcast will bring me business, or hoping a cosign would finally make me, legit, or bring me followers or whatever. Like I was relying on someone or something outside of me to make me successful, to bring me money, to make me feel validated. And nothing is wrong with collaborations and stuff like that. It's actually a really helpful way to build your business. But I was relying on something to save me. I was even looking for, coaches or experts to save me. Someone who would give me an answer that would solve all my problems. But what I needed to do is take extreme responsibility. I had to stop outsourcing to other people. I had to stop looking out there to be rescued. And I had to start relying on me, looking within of what I was avoiding, what I was afraid of, and do it for me. Like, can you feel that energy? It's a much different energy. And then all those collaborations and stuff like that will be so much more impactful because you're not showing up in a victim energy anymore. You're showing up from an empowered state that's like, I know I'm dope. I know what I have to offer is unique. There's nothing else like this. And if you vibe with me, then let's go. Like, come join my world. But if you show up in a like scarce, insecure, fearful energy, it's repelling. Um, Trust me, I just know from personal experience that those collaborations will be so much more powerful when you show up knowing, excuse me, like who you are and what you stand for and what your gift is, and you're confident in that. So I hope this has been helpful for you. The main point of this podcast was to be like, there's so much noise out there about, you know, 6 figures or whatever the hell that means. And I say, let's go for more than 6 figures. Of course, that's a first step. That's great. But, I'm going after 300,000. I'm going after 500,000. I'm going after 1 million. And then after that, we'll see what happens. But um, it's, yeah, think bigger, dream bigger. Um, and I just hope for you that you get to see that your gift matters, that your voice matters, and that you stop playing small, you stop downplaying yourself, and that you realize that you were put here for a reason, and that you are meant for this thing, this God given light and purpose inside of you that you kind of pretend isn't there because it's so scary. I hope you follow that voice and follow your heart, and simultaneously also follow your fear, because that's what you're afraid to reveal. That's what you're afraid to share with the world, is your heart. Um, it's kind of ironic, isn't it? That, and also sad, but also kind of funny that we're actually afraid to be ourselves. And so it's like this cosmic joke. And we're afraid to be ourselves because we were ourselves in the past, and then we received, rejection or abandonment or whatever, shame, guilt, embarrassment. And so then we close ourselves off, or we change ourselves in order to be loved and accepted. But this goes back to my, point number 2 and 3 is that the secret to your business, the secret to feeling fulfilled is learning how to friend those parts of you that have that now feel afraid, that feel ashamed, that feel embarrassed and are hiding. And that is going to allow you to shine so brilliantly with the world. Um, so I hope you have just a little more courage today to step into that and know you're exactly where you need to be and take responsibility. Um, and listen to the heart and do the thing that feels scary because that's what you're meant to do. So I love you. I believe in you. If you haven't already, if you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're listening to the audio, I would love for you to share this with a friend or subscribe on Spotify, Apple, leave a review um, on either. It just helps get this message out there and recommended in the algorithm. But share it with someone who needs it, with someone who's dealing with fear, resistance, nervousness, doubting themselves, whatever it is, because we can all help each other out. So thank you so much, and I'll see y'all soon.